Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and we're installing a return fuel system in JustinSVT's 10th anniversary Cobra. So we have a full video on that coming up with install instructions, but right now what we're going to do is just give you a basic overview of the parts. So stay tuned for the upload.
So here is level 1 for Innovation's return fuel system. Starts out with the hat, and this is a very nice hat. What I like about it is you can see how the pumps are set in here nice and sturdy, and as opposed to the 0304 Cobra pumps that Y together into a single line, this is all done internally and it comes out here on the feed line. And so there's no PPRV valve, there's nothing like that that's gonna pop off down here in the tank. And then the return line comes in and it goes through the body and comes on out here and just drains right back into the tank, right where the pumps are. So you're always getting plenty of fuel, even if you get to a low level, even though you shouldn't be running with a low level. But anyway, it has the two pumps, and these are 340s for the level 1 system. And I like that too because the return fuel systems are constantly flowing fuel through the engine bay, through the fuel lines and the rails, and sometimes that heats up the fuel. So it's a good idea to not run really high powered pumps if you don't need to, like I won't be needing to. And so also down here you have a sending, the sending unit, the fuel gauge basically. It will bolt here to with the factory piece. And so you'll just cut the wire and use all that inside the tank, and then these are the two wires that come up to the pumps, one for each pump, and then some more wiring here on top. And so that's basically the hat, and I like that a lot. I think it's really well engineered. And then you have the controller, and so this basically takes place of, or replaces, the FPDM. And so you have the main power and ground, and then all you really need to do is cut one of the wires that's on the FPDM to use here, and this will have the computer tell the pumps and everything what to do. So that's pretty neat because it's basically just replacing the FPDM, and then it has positive and negative power for each pump. So that will just go in here in the trunk. And so it'll go in here somewhere, and then you can get rid of the FPDM but use the wire you need out of it. It's this green, it's actually right here, if you can see that, it's green and lime or a light green color. And then we can just use the ground here, and we'll just run all the pumps, or the main power that way, and through these grommets in the trunk we'll drop down the wiring for the pumps. And so basically you have the AN fittings for, these are all the AN fittings and things that we'll be using. And I watched some really good videos on how to cut these lines without them fraying by wrapping them in electrical tape and using some pipe cutters that you would use on sprinklers, PVC ones, even a cutting wheel to help with that. But basically you have the regulator next, and this has an adapter piece. Because it's not because I will be using the factory feed lines, then I will basically, there's an adapter that bolts here where the fuel pressure, the fuel rail pressure sensor is, and it will just bolt into there and then run the return line down that way. And so basically it's real simple. Use the stock rails because the stock rails are good up to 700 horsepower, and I'm not looking to run E85, so I just don't really need the extra power, and I don't like the idea, since I can't get E85 around here, and I don't like that it's corrosive and it attracts moisture, especially with heat. E85 gets a lot of moisture from the heat that it generates, so it's even worse. And so for those reasons, I decided to go with the level 1 system. I wanted to get the rails, and I asked Fore to sell me the rails and make it work with the system, but they talked me out of it. I really wanted them, but he said, you don't need them, you don't need them, don't worry about it. So I'll use the factory rails, and this will be for my VMP supercharger. And basically, you'll just run the main power up here to the battery, and we'll go through the wheel well, and we'll go through the interior. We're going to take out the back seat and run it that way. So very good.